Shalom and welcome to On the House, the podcast where industry experts and professionals discuss real estate in Israel. I'm your host, Debbie Goldfischer, real estate agent, founder and editor-in-chief of buyitinisrael.com. Join us as we explore market trends, legal and tax issues, purchasing tips, neighborhoods throughout Israel, and much more. All this is On the House, helping you make the right move. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me today for the very first episode of On the House. Buying a home is a huge purchase that requires a tremendous amount of information and guidance, especially when you're buying in a foreign country. When it comes to real estate in Israel, there are loads of fantastic resources available online in Hebrew, but in English, there is very little that is reliable, organized, and comprehensive. And that is why we built the Buy It in Israel website. The goal is to help consumers become educated consumers. And with that, we decided to start this podcast to further empower our users and listeners as they set out on this exciting journey. The first series is going to be an introduction to the industry. And for the opening episode, I'd like to give a macro overview of the market. Before you can even think about what to buy or where to buy, it's important to understand the market forces, the challenges, and the risks, especially in light of the war. For this first session, I wanted to host a professional who has a broad understanding of the market, someone who is well connected in the industry, objective, and able to communicate well in English. Believe it or not, this is not as easy as it sounds, but I'm pleased to say that we managed to find someone who checks all the boxes. Shay Pauzner is a well-known personality and an expert in the real estate scene in Israel. Since 2013, he has served as Deputy Director of the Israel Builders Association, Hitachdut HaKablanim Bonei Haaretz. Previously, Shay worked in the Israeli media. In his last position, he served as real estate editor for Kalkalist, and before that, he was the economic commentator and real estate journalist for news outlets including Maariv, Globes, and Haaretz. Shay is known for exposing confusion in housing price indices and also for revealing failed conduct on the government's part, which led to a housing crisis in Israel and to protests in the summer of 2011. With that, it is a privilege and a pleasure to introduce Shay Pauzner. Shay, thank you so much for your time.
When you're the first English speaker who said it right, this is very unusual. Yeah, very unusual. It's always Shay, she, shu, sha, all kinds.
Great. So welcome, Shay Pauzner. Thank you so much for your time and for agreeing to come on the show today. Before we get started on the market, Shay, tell us a little bit about the Israel Builders Association and your role in the organization.
Okay. The Israeli Builders Association is a guild owned by the constructors. We are the ones to represent them on any issue needed to be changed or stopped or pushed with the government and local authorities. Most of the time we are working against things, but sometimes we create things, and this is the fun part, like Tama 38, for instance.
Urban renewal.
This is something that came from our desks.
Really?
Yeah, and this is why it's happening. 25% of all of the new houses in Israel every year for more than a decade is Tama 38. We are as old as the country.
Really?
Yes, this guild, this organization, started working in 47.
1947. Amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing.
And you ask about me, I am the one who is in charge of publishing everything we do, work with the press, work with different parts of this organization, we'll talk about it later, to make things move faster and smoother.
Well, that makes sense with your background in journalism.
Yes.
And media.
This is it. Yes. This is why I'm here.
So I studied economics, my first degree, and I like to think of things...
Me too.
You too?
Yep.
Oh, I went to the London School of Economics.
No, I went to the Haifa School of Economics.
I got my MBA from Haifa.
Okay.
So we have a lot in common. So I always like to think of things first from a macro level and then into the micro details. Today, I want to explore with you the market on a macro level.
Yeah.
And I'd like to talk about the supply and the demand in the housing market in general. We'll come to the effects of the war a little bit later. But I suppose before we even do that, we have to consider the size and the population of Israel, because I think it's quite unique in that it's such a tiny country. We have a population of 10 million, of which about 75% are Jewish. We have a tiny country, about 21,500 square kilometers of land. You can get from the north to the south in about 9 hours. You can get from east to west in an hour and a half. And yet you have a lot of people in that very small stretch. So tell us a little bit about the supply and demand, please.
Let's talk about supply first, which has changed very significantly in the last year and a half. In the last decades, we are producing about 60 to 70,000 new dwellings every year. And on the last year until October 7, we've gone down only almost 40% because of the change in the banking sector, which came after very sharp increase of the rates of the money became very, very expensive, right? And this brought a very, very significant change. People stopped buying new houses, and that's why builders stopped producing new houses.
So this was over the last...
This was before October
about
7.
a year and a half before.
A year and a half before
October 7.
Right.
So we've already been seeing a decline in the market.
That's right. Right. Let's say that it's a year before the October 7, if to be exact. But,
okay.
And
so that's brought about an even bigger shortage in the supply.
That's right.
Of
but
housing.
The demand has gone down too, and it's artificial because it's not really those people who have gone. They're here, but they're waiting.
I see.
And one day they will come back to the market because they will have no other way of going on, living the way they did up until then. They will have to get new houses.
Right. And in this country, there's such a social and cultural pressure to buy a home.
That's right.
Home ownership
it's really deep in the country. By our rules, by our standards, everybody should get a house of his own someday.
Right.
And this is why everybody's, thinking about their life with a house. It's something that was built into our minds since we are little kids.
Right.
And in the long term, if you look on what's happening now in Israel, it's going to be a problem because we have no other markets. We have, first of all, the rental market is very, very small, and it's getting smaller and smaller every year throughout the last decade or so. And now it's going to be blown down faster because of the very large number of people who moved from the south and the east.
Right.
And
there's going to be more demand in the center.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. This is something we are starting working with the government now, right now, on these days, on producing new large amounts of rental opportunities. We don't have any long-term rental opportunities at all.
Right. We have a few investment funds like the REITs.
Such a small number.
Very few. We have a brand new long-term rental project just opening in Modi'in, actually. But it's unique.
If I'm looking at what happened throughout the last year, the last 4 or 5 years, this is something to be considering as a good investment. Right. It's going to happen in Israel.
It's going to happen.
Someday, people will understand this is a way of living. This is a thing that can happen and become very, very popular.
A change of mindset. Like in Paris, very few people own their apartments.
Many places in the world works like that.
And in America too, the multifamily, real estate business.
Right.
It's huge.
In some cities in Europe, the amount of people around are 70%, 80%. I'm not sure we're going to go that far, but going to 50% or 45% people who are living their life in rental houses for all their lives. Yes, it can happen.
Right. Well, especially young couples who will not be able to get on the property ladder. Prices are so prohibitive.
This is the point.
This will be the mindset.
Yeah.
And going back to all these families.
And this is because we are too small with too big
population. And the population is growing rapidly.
Right.
I believe we have the highest population growth in the Western developed world.
Yes, it's about 2.3% every year.
And with an anticipated immigration,
right, it's going to go up. Yeah.
Talking about the families that you mentioned that have been evacuated from the north and south. If they all move to the center, what's going to happen with
the north? They have moved to the center. It happened already.
They have.
Now the question is if they will be back. There's a lot of talk about it in the political arena, which is nothing to do with me or us, but someday all of them will have to decide. This day is coming. It's about 3 months, 6 months, I don't know. From now, they will have to decide where they're going to live their lives.
Well, if they all abandon the north and south.
I don't think they all will abandon. But let's say 200,000 people are right now out of their homes. Let's say half of them will stay. This is a huge change.
Absolutely.
in our demand and
wow.
in the market. And we will have to solve this somehow. That's another thing coming.
So we have a shortage today of how many homes?
Depends on who you're asking. Our number is around 150,000 right now.
A shortage of 150,000 homes, and we're talking about the highest population growth in the Western world. Immigration anticipated to accelerate in the coming years. And perhaps 100,000 people moving to the center of the country. That is a crisis.
The crisis has. We haven't said anything about the fact that we can't work. 45% of our building sites are closed right
45%
now. 45% are closed, totally closed. The ones who are working is working in a huge shortage of people. 80,000 Palestinians who used to work here until 7th October stopped coming.
Do you think they'll be allowed back?
Well, in the long run, yes, but the number will be very short, very, very small. Much smaller, right? And I think that for a long time, they won't be able to work in the cities, meaning not close to the Israeli Jewish population.
Well, then where are they going to be building?
They will be working on new sites, on new areas, and mainly on infrastructures.
I see.
Use infrastructure, like roads and railways. And
so we're going to have to get on track and find workers elsewhere.
We do that now.
Right.
I mean, we're in it now.
We're bringing
people. We will bring. They will start coming very soon from India, Sri Lanka, Uzbekistan, and we're in some kind of relationships developing right now with Africans countries.
Great.
Like Kenya, others.
And Israelis don't want to work in this industry, right?
Not in this specific area, not on these capacities. We're talking about the building of the basics, of the base of the building. No, Israeli didn't work in those capacities for a long, long time.
Understood. Okay. If we take a look at the historical prices of the market, it looks like besides a few little blips, the market has continuously gone up. Can you shed some light on that?
Well, the shortage is the answer. As long as we are short in houses, in solutions, we will go on. We'll go on and see the prices are going up. Any change that will be happening in this area will be happening throughout a very long time. It can be changed. Like, for example, as we said before, change of thinking about the rental market can be changed completely, and it will be a huge difference. And this can be faster than the regular solutions for housing. But still, if we look at the big picture, any solution will take time. Years and years and years of working, producing new houses. I am not talking about the situation right now, which is catastrophe. It is a real market catastrophe, but it is an economic catastrophe. A whole country is going to be affected by the fact that we stopped work. The whole country will be affected. It will get to every household, will feel it in their pockets.
Wow.
When you're looking on the long run, we can get to the point where we so almost complete what we need if we will have about 170,000 people, new people working in the sites. Such a project of bringing them here should be a governmental project.
Absolutely.
It can't be done
on the private
on the private sector, right?
Sure.
We can't do that.
Sure.
So it depends on the government.
I think another big problem here is that so much demand is focused in the center of the country, and work, education, culture. There's such an attraction for people to come to the center of the country, and in the meantime, the peripheries are not being populated.
That's right.
And perhaps the government have to really put their resources into that in particular transportation systems.
Transportation system is one way of solving it, or let's say it should be part of the answer.
Mm-hmm.
The real answer should be changing the way we are thinking about the periphery, making a real life, okay, in the desert or the Galilee.
Mm-hmm.
Should be something that will be built with time, but it should be a decision. First of all, the government should be the one to decide to do that.
Right.
We're working with a group of people from the government. We've started working on it for about a year ago, on the idea of a huge new city in the south. Huge one. 1 million people, okay?
Where in the south?
Alongside Beersheba, okay?
Okay.
Could be even some kind of another Beersheba, really next to the real one.
1 million people in that city.
1 million people city.
That's a little bit like Yerushalayim.
Right.
Wow.
But the idea is building a city that is from the top up. Everything to do with moving in the city should be underground because it's hot there.
Makes sense.
So it should be underground.
And cars as well?
No cars. You don't.
Cars.
They have a phrase in America. And the right city is the one you have everything in a 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes walk from your home.
Mm-hmm.
Your work, your schools,
shopping,
education, everything.
Right.
Up to 15 minutes walk. Nothing more than that.
And that's the plan.
You don't need to get your car out at all. You don't need a car.
And if you want to get to the center or to Jerusalem, or take the train.
Take a train, right?
Fantastic. So that's how it's being planned.
This is the idea.
And is the government on board?
If we will have two cities, one of the north, one in the south, 1 million here and 1 million there, this will change Israel forever. When you have a city like that, people are coming to live around it, not just in it.
Correct.
So it becomes an area.
A magnet.
Right.
So is this something that is in the plans, or is it in the works?
Yes, they are talking about it with us for real now, for more than a year.
When you say they, who's...
Well, it's half of the government should deal with that.
Absolutely.
Should be in it.
Well, the problem is their heads are in other things right now.
I'm not speaking about the last 3-4 months. I'm just talking about what happened before the October 7, and this is something that we don't discuss at all since the beginning of the war, but I'm sure we will get back to it soon, because, as you said, almost everybody is looking to go and live in the center. It can't be done. In the long run, it can't be done. We can't take it anymore.
Right. We can't rely on miracles.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Right. And that infrastructure are mandatory. It should be done too, but it should be a holistic
approach.
Right.
One of the good things that COVID did was that it allowed a lot of us to work remotely or in a hybrid model. And I think it makes it easier for people to move out of the center.
Yes.
Even people who come from abroad, many people are able to keep their jobs in the United States or in Europe and work remotely. So if that's the case, then you can certainly live outside of the center. There's no reason to be there.
I think what we have learned from COVID is that it can be done, but it's not the perfect idea. Well, I'm not a psychologist, but there should be some kind of a mix of a balance between working from the far and working with people. There's a lot of talk about it right now.
Well, a lot of companies do a hybrid model where they work 2 days a week in the office, 3 days a week from home, or something like that.
Yes.
And, to travel twice a week from the south into the center is not a big deal.
No, but it should be. Again, we were talking about 10 million people.
Right.
Every model is showing that we are going to double the number, double
our population
by less than 15 years from now.
15 years. In 15 years, we're going to be double the population.
Yeah, we're going to be 18,000. 18 million, 70 million, something like that.
Okay, these numbers are
huge.
Huge. We can't even fathom. We have a crisis.
We have a crisis. We are in a crisis. Which is, it's like a wave. You see it.
And you see it coming.
And you can do something. You can run. You can build something. You don't have many
places to run to.
But you should do it now.
Right.
That's the point.
Right.
We should double the number of dwellings, of houses, up until 2040. We should double the number. We have a 3 million houses right now. We should be on 6.5 million by 2040.
Is that anywhere near realistic?
No.
No.
Right now, no.
But we have to get started.
There will be a time, and it's coming, when you go to the Kalfi, when
the election booths.
Right. You'll have to vote for your government. This will be the first answer. You will ask them, what are you going to do with the housing problem?
Crisis. Right.
This is coming.
Well, perhaps security should come first, because if we're not secure, then we don't have a country.
I think that with time they will be equal, because if you're paying, a normal family is paying something like 6,000 to 9,000 shekels every month for the house.
Right. Whether it's the mortgage or the rent, they're paying 6,000 to 9,000.
At least, I'm saying,
at least 6,000 to
strong
9,000
families.
shekels.
For strong families, this is half of the income. Half.
Wow.
In a normal place, in Europe, in America, it is less than a third than the household income. This is not even close. And it's getting worse every year.
Mm-hmm. You're saying that 50% of the average income is spent on housing.
Yeah.
Whereas in the rest of the world, in developed countries, it's closer to a third.
It's up until,
up to a third, no more than a third.
The third version is the worst version. Yeah.
That is a serious problem.
Yeah.
Okay, Shay, a couple of other effects of the war on the housing market. A huge number of homes in Israel do not have a secure place, whether it's mamad or a shelter in the building.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge issue. I mean, we've seen families with little children, with elderly people having to run to shelters outside.
It's about 900,000 houses.
900,000 homes. So that adds a lot of pressure to the demand as well. I'm sure many of those families are looking to move, and those that can afford to do so. And that's just another big factor.
I'll have said something, and then I'll say the opposite. It is a factor. It is a question that everybody should think about, how we will protect ourselves in the coming years. I'm not sure that the protection we have right now will be working for us in the long term, because of the difference of how wars will look.
Different threats.
Yeah. So it is something to think about. The right answer, it's not mamad. It's not.
It may become irrelevant.
Yes.
We may need something else.
That's right. We will need something else. And I'm coming back to what we said before. Going underground must be one of the solutions. But it's premature. We can't
too
really
early to
know.
Think about it.
When we will have peace.
Right. Well, if we take over Gaza, we'll have a whole city underground that we can run to.
Yeah.
And possibly in other places too.
Yeah.
And a very, very hot issue that we cannot avoid is the diaspora jury, which are looking closely at Israel as anti-Semitism is rising rampant. Many people are thinking of making aliyah, or at the very least buying a home here. And that's another big factor that we have to take into account.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this?
We've seen waves of aliyah throughout the last 20 years, mainly in the 90s, and mainly from Europe. I can't tell you if something really happening right now, but if it is, we don't feel it yet. But this is something we should think about. It will add to the numbers, to the demand, and even it can be faster growth. And if we will have such a fast growth, will be a huge problem, in a bigger problem than we are now.
But isn't it fascinating that we're a country at war, and yet people are looking and interested in buying here?
People are looking at their homes. I think, again, I'm not a psychologist. What I get what I have from the media, and so speaking to people abroad. Everybody's thinking about their own lives.
Right.
They're opening the windows in the morning, looking outside. What are they seeing? They're seeing 200,000 people in London protesting and saying they should be dead.
Right.
That's what they say. So when you see that, you have to think about your future, your kids, whatever. It can be a trigger. It didn't happen yet. but it can happen. We don't know how bad it will go on with anti-Semitism.
Well, I think we've seen things that we haven't seen before.
That's right. It's a matter of time.
It's there. We know it's there, and we can't deny it.
Yeah. Well, people are buying homes for a long time now, for years and years. Jewish people buying homes here, and they don't come here, but they have their home. It's a security deposit.
Right. Right. Also, it's also a great financial investment.
For real. I mean, all the time.
Anyone that bought a home in Israel at any point, it's gone up in time.
They make money.
And it's great to diversify their assets.
In 2021, the increase of housing prices was 21%. 21%
in 1 year alone.
There is nothing, even at the proximity,
nothing close
to that around the world. Nowhere.
Right. I mean, right. Well, that was in 1 year. What about in 10 years?
Prices went up in the last 10 years, almost 90%.
Unbelievable. Almost 90% in the last 10 years.
Yes.
So, Shay, I have a website that I see traffic from all over the world coming in, and undoubtedly I've seen a significant increase in our traffic over the last few months. I get a lot of inquiries, and I see that there are people who are, as you said, starting to think, starting to look. And something that I've been thinking about is buying off-plan. Many people, they're not looking to make Aliyah tomorrow. They want something for the long term. They're very happy to buy something that they can put down a deposit now, watch it be built over the next few years, pay in installments. But, with the crisis in the construction industry and all the challenges that they're facing, as we said, a shortage of workers, rising interest rates, anticipated delays in the timelines, a war going on with so much uncertainty. And I'm assuming that the government is going to put its priorities into rebuilding the South and getting the homes secure up in the North as well. So how much risk is there in somebody purchasing today off-plan from a developer?
Well, I say, and I'm not an investing professional, but I can say that, well, let's go one by one. The shortage of workers will be solved in 6 to 8 months from now. Situation with the Palestinians, hell knows. I don't know what will happen. But it's not, as you see, it's not really the main effect of what's happening here.
You mean the security situation is not the main influence on the housing market?
That's right, it's not. So you don't have to consider that as a problem if you are looking at the big picture of what's going on in the construction.
Well, we do have an existential problem.
But, I'm speaking about the construction industry.
I understand.
It's not a big deal for us. The big deal is the huge shortage of people, and what will happen with the banking industry. And I think both of them will be better in a year, much better. And when this happens, the problems are being solved, the increase of the market demands is a huge one. It's a fast, huge increase. The demand is amazing. We have seen that over the years after every war that building industry was booming. It always happened.
Always.
And it will probably happen this time too.
Right.
How fast will it happen? I'm not sure. I can say that we will be back in business as usual in a year, something like a year from now, not before that. If it will be able to get the workers faster than I think, it could be. We could be seeing the difference on the coming summer already. But I'm taking precautions.
You're conservative.
Yes,
I understand.
That's right.
Shay, this is unbelievable. Really, really insightful and
thank you.
And informative and perspective that I don't think many people in this country could give in English. Before we end, Shay, I would like to know where do you live and what do you like most about living there?
Oh, I live in Petach Tikva, born and raised in Petach Tikva city, 17 kilometers from here. I love the place. My family is there. My friends are there. I am a man, so I have my friends, the same friends since high school.
Wow.
So
that's a great reason to be there.
We're a community. We're a real community, and
Beautiful.
This is why This is why I'm there.
That's why you're there. If you were to move to a different area in the country, where would you go and why?
Well, probably to the north. Not now.
Not now.
My sister's in the north.
Uh-huh.
I have some family in the north, and I like it. I mean,
it's amazing.
In Israel, there's two groups in Israel: the one who loves the desert and the one who loves the green side of the north. I'm the one. I'm from the other.
But the amazing thing is you can enjoy both, and you can be in both areas within a few hours. Not difficult.
That's right.
Shay, this was amazing. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time and your insights, and I hope we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Thank you for listening to On the House. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and share it with your family and friends. You can also visit buyitisrael.com, where you can find news, market updates, guidance, and much more on real estate in Israel. That's Buy It in Israel, BUYIT in Israel.com. If you have a question or a specific topic you'd like us to cover on this podcast, please email us at the address you'll find at the bottom of the show notes. Whether you're thinking about Aliyah, looking for a home or a haven, or wanting to support the Israeli economy, now is the time to buy it in Israel.